The headline blares, "Ireland crowned richest country in the world." It's a bold claim, splashed across newspapers and broadcast on television, catching the attention of people both at home and abroad. For a moment, it seems like a cause for celebration, a sign that Ireland has finally arrived on the world stage as an economic giant. It's the story of a small island nation, once known for emigration and hardship, now transformed into what appears to be an economic powerhouse. The transformation is dramatic: gleaming office towers, bustling city streets, and a sense of newfound confidence. The numbers seem to back it up. IMF and World Bank data show Ireland's GDP per capita soaring past Switzerland and Norway. On paper, the statistics are staggering, with economic growth rates that outpace much of Europe. It's easy to believe the hype when you see the graphs and headlines, but step off the plane in Dublin, and the reality is different. The city is vibrant, but beneath the surface there's a different story unfolding. Talk to locals about being the richest people on earth, and you'll get a wry laugh. They'll mention high rent, expensive pints, and the daily grind that makes saving money a real challenge. For many, the so-called riches are nowhere to be found in their wallets. The struggle to save is real. Young adults count coins at the end of the month, families worry over bills, and couples pore over bank statements, wondering how to make ends meet. The impressive economic figures feel distant from daily life. Commuters rush to work, shoppers stretch their budgets in supermarkets, and families gather for modest meals, far removed from the image of boundless wealth. This is the Irish paradox, a nation statistically wealthy, but where many feel they're just getting by. The contrast between luxury corporate buildings and modest homes is stark, and the sense of inequality is hard to ignore. The headline is a mirage, a product of global finance and clever tax policy. Multinational companies funnel profits through Ireland, inflating the numbers, but the benefits don't always trickle down to ordinary people. Ireland's story isn't a simple rags to riches tale. It's about the gap between corporate wealth and ordinary life. The skyscrapers and boardrooms tell one story, but the neighborhoods and villages tell another. The heart of the country tells a different story than the headlines. In rural towns and small communities, people rely on each other, facing challenges with determination and grit. It's not about riches, but resilience in the face of prosperity that's seen, not felt. For most, true wealth is measured not in euros, but in community, perseverance, and the hope for a better tomorrow. Let's talk numbers, where the illusion begins. Ireland's economic story is one of dazzling statistics, but the reality behind those numbers is far more complex than it first appears. In 2023, Ireland's GDP per capita topped $106,000, outpacing Switzerland and Singapore. On the global stage, this figure puts Ireland among the world's economic elite, a country that seems to have cracked the code to prosperity. On paper, Ireland is an economic titan. The numbers suggest a nation overflowing with wealth, opportunity, and high living standards. But GDP measures all activity within a country, not who benefits. It's a broad brush that paints over the details of everyday life, missing the nuances of who actually feels the impact of this so-called prosperity. The average Irish worker takes home about $3,000 a month after taxes, respectable, but nowhere near the GDP headline. For most, the numbers in their bank accounts tell a very different story from the national statistics. The gap is due to multinationals routing profits through Ireland for tax reasons. These global giants use Ireland as a financial hub, shifting billions through the country, without those profits ever truly landing in Irish pockets. These profits inflate GDP, but rarely touch the domestic economy. The money exists on spreadsheets and in boardrooms, not in the wallets of ordinary people. It's like hosting a party where guests leave with all the food. The celebration is real, but the leftovers for the host are meager. The national accounts look spectacular, but household budgets are much more modest. For many families, the end of the month brings tough choices and careful planning. Most Irish people live with typical European financial pressures: mortgages, childcare, saving for retirement. The cost of living continues to rise, and financial security can feel just out of reach. The richest country narrative feels hollow when you're budgeting for groceries, watching prices climb, and wondering how to stretch your paycheck to the end of the month. Or searching for affordable housing in a market where rents and home prices have soared, making it harder for young people and families to find a place to call home. The wealth is statistical, a ghost enriching foreign investors, not the people on the street. The city's gleaming towers and luxury shops are symbols of prosperity, but they don't reflect the daily experience of most Irish citizens. The real story is about the divide between national numbers and personal reality. Behind the impressive figures lies a country where many still struggle to make ends meet, reminding us that economic success on paper doesn't always translate to prosperity in real life. The richest country narrative unravels in Ireland's housing crisis. Home ownership is out of reach for many, with prices and rents soaring far beyond average wages. Stories of hundreds queuing for a single apartment are common. The market is broken, creating a generation of permanent renters. Institutional investors buy up housing, pushing prices higher. For a rich country, failing to provide shelter is a profound indictment. The result? Young, educated Irish are emigrating for better opportunities abroad. This modern exodus echoes Ireland's history, but now people leave because they can't afford to stay. The media's image of prosperity clashes with the reality of families saying goodbye at Dublin Airport. The true symbol of the Irish economy is not just tech offices, but the heartbreak of departure. To truly understand Ireland's paradox, how a nation once defined by hardship could become a symbol of prosperity, you have to look back at its long and complicated past. Ireland's story is one of resilience, struggle, and transformation, shaped by forces both within and beyond its borders. For centuries, Ireland was marked by poverty and dependence, its fate often dictated by British rule. The trauma of the Great Famine in the 1840s left deep scars, emptying villages and haunting generations with memories of hunger and loss. These wounds shaped the national psyche, instilling a sense of vulnerability and longing for something better. Emigration became a way of life. Wave after wave of Irish men and women left their homeland, seeking hope and opportunity in Britain, the United States, Australia, and far beyond. For many families, saying goodbye at the docks was a painful rite of passage. The country's greatest export for generations was not goods or services, but its own people. Each departure a reminder of what Ireland could not provide. The idea that Ireland could one day be counted among the world's richest nations would have seemed unimaginable, even laughable, to those living through decades of deprivation and struggle. Yet, this difficult history planted the seeds of ambition. It created a deep collective desire for change, a hunger not just for food, but for dignity, opportunity, and prosperity at home. This longing for a better future drove radical shifts in economic policy and a willingness to take bold risks. Leaders and citizens alike began to imagine a different Ireland, one that could finally break free from its past. The scars of poverty, once a source of shame, became the blueprint for transformation. They reminded the nation of what it never wanted to return to. Even today, the memory of hardship lingers. It fuels anxiety during economic crises, as old fears resurface and people wonder if progress can truly last. The Irish remain skeptical of headlines and official statistics. They know that true success is measured not just by numbers or economic growth, but by the quality of everyday life, by security, community, and hope for the next generation. The past is never far away. It shapes the present, reminding Ireland that real prosperity must be felt in people's lives, not just recorded in spreadsheets or celebrated in news reports. Ireland's economic transformation was no accident. In the late 20th century, policymakers abandoned protectionism and opened the country to global business. The key, a 12.5% corporate tax rate, far lower than most of Europe. Ireland became a gateway to the EU, attracting multinationals with low taxes and market access. EU membership brought funding and modernization. The result was the Celtic Tiger boom, foreign investment, tech giants, and thousands of new jobs. For the first time, Ireland became a country of immigration, not emigration. The economy soared, unemployment fell, and optimism grew. The blueprint worked, at least on the surface, but the miracle came with hidden costs. Multinationals changed Ireland's landscape, jobs, investment, and a new dynamism. Clusters of tech and pharma companies created real opportunities, but their main motivation was tax efficiency, not job creation. Sophisticated accounting let them shift global profits to Ireland, inflating GDP with paper transactions. In 2015, a single corporate restructure made Ireland's economy grow by 26% overnight. Economists called it leprechaun economics. GDP became meaningless. The soaring numbers didn't reflect real prosperity for most people. Tax revenue was significant, but a fraction of what normal rates would yield. Most profits flowed out to foreign shareholders. Ireland became a conduit for global capital, not a true reflection of domestic well-being. To decode Ireland's illusion, look at how prosperity is measured. GDP counts all activity, including profits that never stay in Ireland. It's like counting your neighbor's lottery win as your own. Economists use GNI, subtracting foreign profits, to get closer to reality. In Ireland, GNI is 20 to 30% lower than GDP, showing how much wealth leaves the country. But even GNI isn't enough. Enter GNI Star, a custom metric stripping out globalization's distortions. GNI Star cuts Ireland's apparent wealth in half, aligning it with Germany or Belgium, not the world's richest. The GDP headline is a mirage. Real prosperity is much more modest. Ireland had to invent its own ruler just to measure itself honestly. The numbers tell a different story when you look past the surface. The housing crisis is the sharpest edge of Ireland's economic contradictions. After the Celtic Tiger crash, construction halted and supply dried up. As the economy recovered, demand surged, but homes remained scarce. Government policies favored investors over first-time buyers. International funds, REITs, snapped up entire developments, seeking rental income, not homes. This squeezed out ordinary buyers and pushed prices higher. A flood of skilled immigrants for tech jobs added to demand. The result? Average earners can't compete with global capital or high-paid tech workers. The housing market mirrors the economy, successful on paper, deeply unequal underneath. The scramble for homes reveals the real cost of Ireland's economic model. So, how rich is Ireland really? GNI Star and actual individual consumption, AIC per capita reveal the truth. Ireland's AIC is just below the EU average, well behind Germany and the Netherlands. Despite huge corporate profits, average living standards are unexceptional. The transformation from poverty to prosperity is real, but the benefits are uneven. Multinationals brought jobs and investment, but also deep distortions. The headline wealth hasn't fully reached ordinary households. Policymakers boast of success, but structural problems in housing and services persist. Citizens feel the disconnect, told they're rich, but squeezed by daily costs. Ireland's story is one of progress and imbalance. It's a prosperous nation, but not for everyone. Until prosperity is shared more fairly, Ireland will remain rich on paper, but just getting by in practice.